Hello everyone, it's Brandon here from the Pilot Stud channel, and today I'm talking about one of the most exciting developments for Microsoft Flight Sim so far. Aircraft and Avionics Update 2. This update, which has been released so far as a beta preview on both PC and Xbox, overhauls two of the Boeing heavies in the sim, the 747 and 787, and my goodness, at least so far, it is bloody awesome. Join me today as I talk about it. Now first off, let me be clear, if you do decide to install AAU2, that rolls off the tongue nicely, it is currently in beta, so it comes as a given, but expect bugs and expect issues. I will be talking about my experiences with the beta in this video, but as the beta name suggests, this is still very much a work in progress. So some of the features either haven't been completed yet, aren't working completely properly yet, or indeed haven't even been put in the simulator yet, so please do proceed at your own risk. If you're willing to take that risk, of course, most of you probably will be. Well, for all intents and purposes, to install it, it's relatively simple. If you're like me and you've got it on Steam, head into the game library on your Steam app, right click Microsoft Flight Simulator, head into Properties and then Betas, and then of course select AAU2. Make sure your simulator's not running at that point, restart the sim, and you should see the update ready to download. If you're on the Windows edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator, or indeed on Xbox, then you still can of course install the beta. You'll just need to go on Xbox's Insider app. There is a website that tells you step by step how to install it, and it's very handy and will explain it better than I ever could. Now when this update is released in June, so there's still of course a few weeks until this update is released properly, although in my opinion June still feels like it should be months away, but it turns out it is only next month. Once it does come out in June, it should hopefully be very polished and ready for everyone. But if you are taking a punt with the beta, here's some of the things you can expect to already see directly off the Microsoft Flight Simulator website changelog. Now, across both the 747-8 Intercontinental and 787-10, there is a revised engine and flight model, bringing many values and indeed the feel of the aircraft closer to the book. On top of that, there's also functional GPS and IRS navigation systems. GPS is a given, IRS stands for Inertial Reference System, and is basically the aircraft figuring out where it is. Now, as well as that, there is also a comprehensive visual overhaul of the avionics in general, with a specific focus of accurate font, symbology, look, operation and feel, and that applies to both the 747 and 787, which of course entails a lot of system improvements. And on top of that, where the money is, advanced VNAV and LNAV upgrades. You should find that these aircraft will definitely function on autopilot to a more realistic standard, which of course is a selling point. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about my thoughts. I've flown some flight tests, and I'll admit, mostly in the 787 because of the aircraft that slightly interests me more. A side note is, of course, if you haven't got the premium deluxe version, you still will not be able to access the 787, but of course the 747 is available for everyone. That aside, so far at least, I am very impressed. It is important to note that I used the Heavy Division 787-X and the Salty Simulations 747, so it is somewhat hard to trace my mind back to how the default aircraft were before this update, but I'd have to say they are very close to the level that Heavy Division and Salty Simulation reached with their respective products, if not better in some cases. Autopilot is fantastic, at least the majority of the time, and with relatively simple flights. Flight model has seen significant upgrades on both models. These aircraft do not float as much as they used to, and that for me, at least on my first 787 landing, did catch me out by surprise. On top of that, as I sort of hinted at there, performance is much better. These aircraft feel a lot smoother, although of course that just might be me comparing them to the aforementioned freeware. Now, of course, it comes as a given that they are not complete. For example, VNav is very keen to get down. I remember as I was descending down into Amsterdam, VNav on descent was definitely going probably past aircraft limits at almost 6,000 FPM at times, which I'm sure woke up the passengers, but wasn't very realistic, so I did have to take manual control. And on top of that, despite Autoland being improved much closer to real life, it remains somewhat temperamental. The major caveat being here, of course, I've never flown a 787, and to be 100% honest with you guys, even before this update, the aircraft were flying to the standard where most people would have enjoyed them as a flight simmer, but this update just takes it to another level. So all in all, I am very impressed. There are plenty of improvements, and the change log on the Microsoft Flight Simulator website does go into further detail, but all in all, the Asobo team and Microsoft team, in collaboration with Working Title, have greatly improved these aircraft, and my goodness, they needed it. It's hard to compare it to the default version because, as I've said, I haven't used that for ages, but they're definitely on par with the freeware alternatives I've already mentioned. And of course, the Heavy Division team and Salty Simulations teams were absolute stars. Where would we be without them? But clearly, they've passed the baton over to Asobo, and for a beta, it's a very good start. Now, I'm sure there'll be plenty of improvements, fixes, and indeed bugs that will come along as the beta progresses, but all in all, I'm very impressed. I haven't had any major issues, so as a personal recommendation, if you are keen to try out this beta, please do go for it. It hasn't broken my simulator just yet, touch wood. But at the end of the day, this is still a beta, so there is a level of risk associated. Personally, I'm a fan, and I think it is the right direction. I've always said I like the sounds of AAU updates, and my goodness, this is no exception to the rule. The Cessna Citation Longitude, and as well as the TBM 930, have also seen some minor bug fixes, which I'm guessing is following along from AAU 1. On that note, guys, a very impressive update so far. I hope this video has provided a good insight. In my opinion, it's fantastic, even in this early stage, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. On that note, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day wherever you are in the wonderful world. Bye bye.